What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats, as well as some great attachment combinations for every gun in Call of Duty Vanguard. And in today's episode, we're actually going to jump over to the SMG category briefly, because I really wanted to cover the MP40. And diving right in, let's start it off with our damage, which when it comes to our torso damage at least, which will be the vast majority of shots that hit your target, it's going to be a 3, 4, or 5 shot kill depending on the range. It's also worth noting that it is quite forgiving if you do hit some limb shots here or there. Up close, only one of your 3 bullets needs to hit the torso, the rest can hit the legs or the arms, doesn't really matter, and it's the same story at mid-range, and then at longer ranges, it doesn't matter where you shoot them, it's always going to be a 5-shot kill. As for headshots, they're only moderately effective on the MP40. It does require 2 headshots mixed in with body shots at any range to reduce the number of shots to kill. However, you might notice at close range, that means you can actually get a 2-shot kill to the head. As for our rate of fire, this is 600 rounds per minute, which is a bit on the slow side for an SMG at least. It's not painfully slow, but it is a little bit on the slower side. And what this means for our time to kill potential is in the 3-shot kill range, we'll be killing in 200 milliseconds, which is a great base time to kill in this game. And then for every extra shot it takes to kill, it's going to take you an extra 100 milliseconds. What this also means is if we manage to get that 2-shot kill to the head, our time to kill potential is 100 milliseconds, which is ridiculously fast. But then when it comes to our bullet velocity, this is standard for an SMG at 353 meters per second. It's the same for all of the SMGs in the game currently. And now let's have a look at our range values. As you can see here, our 3-shot kill range will extend out to 15 meters, which isn't bad by any means for an SMG. And our 4-shot kill range will extend out to around 28 meters, which again, that's pretty solid for an SMG. You can generally keep yourself well within this 4-shot kill range if you're playing it right on most of the maps in this game. As for hardcore, I just wanted to point out in the maximum damage range, it's a guaranteed 1-shot kill anywhere in the body. Whereas the second damage range, you can still get a 1-shot kill to the head or the neck, but it will be a 2-shot kill to the body. And then beyond that 28 meters, no matter where you shoot them, it's going to take you 2 shots to kill. Now, when it comes to hipfire, it's actually quite interesting. The in-game stated stats appear to be wrong here, and the MP40 isn't quite as good as it might look in the in-game stated stats. Because according to those stats, it's identical to the Sten and the Type 100, but that's clearly not the case. As for our idle sway, we can see here there's not a lot for an SMG. Actually, it's fairly stable while aiming down sight, but there will be some movement to your aim. And now let's have a look at our recoil, which as you can see here, it kicks pretty much just upward and to the right. This is a very consistent recoil pattern, although you'll notice there is that little bit of side-to-side bounce. That's not actually side-to-side bounce with the recoil. This is the aim down sight spread, which is affected by your accuracy stat. And taking a look at the aim down sight spread compared to the other SMGs, the MP40 is not the worst out of the SMGs, but I also wouldn't call this good by any means. So you'll likely want to consider using attachments that improve that accuracy stat so your bullets actually go where you're aiming them. As for handling, we have really solid handling on the MP40. Our aim down sight time is 200 milliseconds, which is a little bit better than average. Our sprint to fire time is 167 milliseconds for a standard sprint and 250 milliseconds for a tactical sprint. And then finally, for our reload add time, this is 1.47 seconds, which is quite noticeably better than average for SMGs. And finally, for base stats, let's have a look at our mobility. And as we can see here, the MP40 is right around average for SMGs. If anything, it's actually slightly better than average, but not by a noticeable margin. So those are the base stats for the MP40. This is already shaping up to be a really solid gun, even without any attachments on it. But let's start looking at the important attachments at least, and we'll start it off with our barrels. As you can see here, when we compare our barrel recoil, none of the barrels really have a massive impact on the recoil of this gun, whether that be positive or negative, but you can definitely see slight variations to your recoil depending on which barrel you're using. Like the first barrel you have access to, that one improves your recoil by a noticeable amount, whereas the third and fourth barrel are definitely harming your recoil a little bit, but it's not by a massive degree. And now let's move on to the ranges for these barrels, which you can see the second and third barrel that you have access to, they're going to slightly reduce your damage ranges. And then the final barrel that we have access to, this one's quite interesting. You'll notice that not only does it improve our ranges, it also eliminates that 5-shot kill potential at longer ranges, which so far is looking really good on paper, but let's dive into a few more details on that barrel in particular, since it's the only one that noticeably changes our time to kill potential on this gun. But as you can see here, with this, you are losing your headshot multiplier, so that is the downside to this. But the upside is now it's going to be a guaranteed 3-shot kill up close, even if you're hitting all leg shots. Then at our mid-range, it's going to be a guaranteed 4-shot kill no matter where you shoot them in the body or head. And then that also extends out to our longest ranges. It's going to be a very consistent 3 to 4-shot kill no matter what. And as a result, this isn't necessarily a bad choice if you're just looking for a solid, consistent MP40 build. Like, sure, you are going to be losing that 2-shot kill potential to the head, but realistically speaking, especially up close and personal, there's so much movement going on that 2-shot kills to the head are fairly rare with the MP40, at least in my experience. So I actually do like this barrel as an option. And with that, now let's move on to our magazine attachments. These are also quite important to look at since they directly impact our time to kill potential, at least in some of the cases. And we'll start it off with recoil. I'm not including the 9mm magazine attachments since those give you the exact same recoil as the base recoil. But with the 7.62 Gorenko, you can see that noticeably improves our recoil profile. And then with the 8mm Kurz rounds, this noticeably harms our recoil profile. You'll see there is definitely more of that aim down sight spread, so a little more randomness with it, and also the magnitude is higher, but it's not like this is completely uncontrollable, it just has noticeably more recoil. As for our ranges with the different magazine types, you can see there with the 7.62 Gorenko, not only does this hurt our ranges, but you'll also see that it increases the number of shots to kill, whereas with the 8mm Kurz rounds, we get a great bonus to our ranges, but you'll also see our 4-shot kill range becomes a 3-shot kill range, and our 5-shot kill range becomes a 4-shot kill range, and even though we have a slightly slower time to kill potential up close due to the slower fire rates, it's generally going to be helping you out when it comes to your time to kill potential. But let's circle back to the 7.62 Gorenko rounds and dive into a little more detail with this. Like you saw in that range chart, it's going to take you 1 extra shot to kill at all ranges due to our damage reduction. However, to compensate for that, we do have a higher rate of fire at 705 rounds per minute, which is noticeably faster, but time to kill wise, this isn't even close to making up for the fact that you're going to take an extra shot to kill at all ranges. Now, the other upsides, which you can just see for yourself in the in-game stated stats, these are improvements to your mobility as well as your recoil. In my opinion, they're not even close to being worth it for this noticeably slower time to kill and the fact that it's simply going to take you more shots to kill with this ammo type. So in my opinion, you should probably stay pretty far away from this one. As for the 8mm Kurz rounds though, these are pretty solid. With this one, like you saw earlier, the mid and long range will now take 1 fewer shot to kill. So at mid-range, it'll be a 3-shot kill instead of 4, and at longer ranges, it's going to be a 4-shot kill instead of 5. And the downside to keep this in check is the fact that our rate of fire is decreased a little bit, not by a super large margin, which will slightly slow down our 3-shot kill potential, but in my mind, it's totally worth it for that. It's also worth remembering if you use this magazine attachment, it will be noticeably harming your recoil, so you may want to compensate for that with other attachments. But all in all, this is an excellent choice, and I would highly recommend using the 8mm Kurz rounds. And that's going to wrap it up for all of the important attachments that I feel are worth mentioning with this. Now let's get into a couple excellent attachment combinations, the first of which is kind of broken actually. I think this will be patched in the near future, but this is the Limb Destroyer. If you combine the 8mm Kurz rounds with the hollow point rounds in the game's current state, for some reason it's actually going to give you extra damage to the limbs, like more damage than you're even dealing to the torso. What this means is we can actually deal 54 damage to the limbs. And this means just 1 shot to the leg or the arm and then another shot to the torso will give you a 2-shot kill potential. And when doing this, our time to kill potential is 107 milliseconds, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. Now, it is a little bit awkward trying to aim at the legs and making sure you're hitting those limb shots, because normally if you want to maximize damage, you want to hit torso or upper torso. That's not the case with this particular build, at least for now. I will keep you guys updated with a pinned comment down below once they eventually fix this. But until then, this is the best MP40 class setup that you can use. And I also wanted to point out, the way I've stacked it with other attachments here, it's actually incredibly accurate. There is no aim down sight spread. It kicks basically straight upwards. This gun is just a straight up monster. Even if you aren't hitting those limb shots, and once they eventually patch this, I would just swap hollow point for a different ammo type, and you're still going to have an excellent 3 to 4 shot kill gun on your hands that I definitely recommend using. So that's the first one, and the one I definitely recommend taking advantage of until they end up fixing this. Now let's move on to a much more consistent all-arounder, and this one is going to last the test of time, I feel. With this, some of the highlights we've got on here is that short barrel. This is going to make it so we get a very consistent 3 to 4 shot kill no matter where we shoot them. And it's also worth noting we're using the 64 round drum magazine, which I just find to be really refreshing in this game because most of the guns have very small magazine capacities and you're often getting caught reloading or you have to slow down your pacing and your playstyle. I really like using this build because I can run around freely and not really have to worry about reloading after every 2 gunfights or so. I can continue getting 4 or 5 or even 6 kills with a single magazine. And this makes this especially great in modes like Blitz, where things are a little more chaotic and there's often fewer chances to get a reload in. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the MP40 SMG. As for my opinion on this, I think out of the box, without any attachments, this is one of the best guns in the entire game. You don't even need attachments on it, but once you start stacking attachments, you can obviously make it even better, and therefore this is absolutely just a top tier weapon. Even after they fix that hollow point bug where you can get a 2-shot kill to the limbs, I still think this is going to be an upper tier weapon and one of the best in the game. Now, of course, that is just my opinion. I'd like to hear from you guys in the comment section below. What do you guys think of the MP40? And also, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I've covered a couple of the assault rifles so far. I will leave a link to the playlist in the description down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.